We started this year again. We have done couple of them, and then that's why I ask you. I reach out to people who actually I believe that can be, inspired to listen. Definitely, you have. I met you when you were in Tatler,
Yes.
and now, why don't you explain to our viewers and listeners actually what do you do?
Okay, so when you met me, I was the senior dining editor at Tatler, which is in Hong Kong. It's a luxury magazine that goes into everything in lifestyle, everything from fashion to jewelry to food. There's quite a bit of a following in terms of the dining coverage for Tatler. And it's still going on. So I've done this for 5.5 years, and then I decided one day that, hey, how about doing some freelancing? I've never, as a writer, done any freelancing before, and it's sort of weird because at that time, all of my friends, all of the people that I know of, they have already done full time and they have been successful doing freelancing, and I've always thought that, hey, how about trying that? This could be something new for me. This could be, this will come to me as a new set of challenges, and it's also quite different because as you work full time, you have everything on a schedule, everything you kind of already arranged for you and by you. But if you do freelance, you pick up the kind of work that you want to do and you're keen to do, and how you are going to invest your time and arrange your time a little bit better. So it's all part of a good training to become a more productive worker. So
I think
that's how.
I think that as a startup, it's hard to do freelance. I don't know. I think because unless you don't know the discipline, you don't know the way of doing it as a big company, then it's hard for you to do freelance. So you have done experience and work in a company like Tatler or maybe some other company for like more than 5-6 years, and then you decide to do freelancing. But in your job, in your profession, can you just break it down? So what actually you do? Let's say if someone want to do a writing, do you write for food and beverage only, or about let's say some luxury items or like brand?
I think food and drink and lifestyle essentially are my thing. These three things. I think in terms of the strength, it's mostly food. I have
Mostly
to say.
food. Yeah, I see your Instagram.
Yes.
All about food.
Yeah, I think it's easier too because it's.
Do you think it's easier?
I've always been a food person, and I've always there's this something that always stuck with me about work and also profession, is that if you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, definitely.
When it doesn't feel like work, you do it well. So, even with COVID, during the beginning of first, second, and third wave of COVID, when I was doing full time, it still feels difficult every single day because, all your teammates are at home. They were working from home.
Sound is just gone. Oh, now it's come back. Sorry. Yeah.
So everyone is, working from home, and there's not a lot of going out, and, it feels difficult, but you stuck with it because it's what you like to do, right? So this is only part of the challenges that we face as a full-time, but as a freelancer now, I started freelance when there is no traveling. So it becomes very difficult to travel. Everybody at my old office was saying, hey, you quit at a really weird time. Like normally, people would finish with their full-time job and then they would take
break,
buy a ticket and just fly off somewhere. And I thought the timing was a little bit questionable, but it was also a great way for us to kind of start something, because like if I don't start it now, like I'll be in the comfort of doing whatever. So I still manage to do my food writing. I contribute to different newspapers and magazines, print, like as in the physical magazine, and also online. So that's I've become a little bit more active and proactive, if you say, to be. I try to write in different magazines, like different publications, and I also did Chinese as well. So it's bilingual, so English and Chinese.
So you write mostly about the food on a printed magazine and stuff, right? And also you mentioned me earlier I forgot that you also do interview in a video or maybe a podcast kind of stuff.
I've done maybe 2 episodes
Yeah.
of radio before, and like in my life, like this is literally the third time I've ever done it. It's very different, and for a podcast sort of setup, it's still a little bit unfamiliar for me. I've listened to podcasts for years, and like you would imagine, it's also all food podcasts. So it's a great way to learn, and it's also a great outlet for you to learn. You can just press a few buttons on your phone, and then you'll be immediately drawn to stories that are happening, say, in the States, and also like it could be BBC, around the world. It could be anywhere in the world. As long as they record something, you can share, and you can learn from it. And this is all part of enriching the food coverage for yourself. Like if I want to know more about Nepalese cuisine, then there must be something that we can listen to in Nepal, and then we can follow up with searching it on the internet, or also friends that are Nepalese, and they may be able to tell me more about what they know about the cuisine, or what they would imagine. This is not it. Like here's how my mother does it. Like I've had experiences like these where we heard something from a program that's about pasta and pizza, and then I came to an Italian friend, it's a chef. And he told me like, this is not good. Like this is like totally irrelevant. We don't do it like that. And then he went on to show me at the restaurant, this is how you do it. And then they did the whole demo. So it became sort of like a process, a learning process for us. So you go one after the other, and then bit by bit you gain more knowledge, and then you realize that this whole thing, you can make it into a story. It will be an interesting story for a lot of people. But more importantly for me, this is also how you learn things. It's that there are so many different facets, like processes that you can take up. It's no longer just open up a book
and then
or
do it.
Watching it on the internet, on YouTube, because you now also know people in Hong Kong or in Macau or in the States or in India that do these things.
Same thing,
and all
in
you
different
need
way.
to do, in different way, and they will show you. They are more than happy to show you, and all you need to do is to go online, go on Instagram, and text someone and say, hey, this looks great. Can you show me how? And this is also how you kind of connect yourself with a different community. It's the same community in different places. So geography and distance no longer matter, because all the distance there is online.
You're right. I think we can definitely learn from YouTube, definitely learn from the books. But the thing is, we get to know much better way when we like face to face, like more like like the person who share with you the experience he had or she had with their family cooking, or maybe family drinking, or can be their grandma or grandfather, which is totally, I agree. I want to ask you about, you mentioned you do English press and Chinese press. You study in Hong Kong, you're born in Hong Kong, what is your background?
So I'm a local Hong Kong. I grew up in Hong Kong, so all the way until I was Form 5, that would make me 17.
Form 5. 16,
Yes,
17?
16, 17,
Yeah.
and then I went to the States and Canada to finish off high school and university.
University.
So I was in Toronto when I was in. Sorry, can't shake it off.
How do you say Toronto or Toronto?
Okay, so the Hong Kong way is Toronto.
Toronto, okay.
Yeah, but the Canadian way, I think, not to offend anybody in Canada, is Toronto.
Toronto, okay.
Yeah, you're trying to kind of like drag it along. No, but I think it took me quite a number of years to kind of shake off, any accent.
Accents.
You just basically you move right into each community and place. So when I was in Toronto, that's the place that I pick up on food the most. I did not study journalism. I was in psychology.
I was going to ask actually.
I was in psychology. So it's all about not about reading minds. So
No?
I still
I
cannot.
thought psychology reading minds, so you go to the bars in Russia and read chef's mind. Is that good? Oh, what are you planning to tell me?
No, they have something else for that. It's called Instagram. You can do that over Instagram now and Facebook and whatever social media channels they use. But it's hardly ever about reading the minds of people. It's more like understanding how things work. For a lot of people, it's common sense. The psychology thing, how the mind works, how you go through thought processes, like how you go through reasoning, for instance. I had I'm really appreciating that I took this, even though in reality, in real life, in professional life, you hardly ever use it.
Does it help? No.
I may need help eventually, but it's not like everybody. You realize that everybody is a little bit mental at some point.
Everybody.
I think with COVID going on, everybody is a little bit more mental than they were before. But so psychology takes me into writing. I've always loved writing. But with psychology, you get to write more in a more professional, more of a scholarly way. But at the same time, there's also the school newspaper. Where in the university, there's also the school newspaper where you practice more of a journalist type of writing. You cover stories even within the campus, what's happening in the campus. Regarding to there are different cultural festival, like the communities, what they're doing. There might be like a CNY thing happening to the Chinese people, and then there are Diwali things happening to the Indian people. Like there are different things, and for a university, it is all about the diverse cultures, and especially in Toronto where everything is so all together. So you get to realize that you get to understand a lot more on the other, ethnic community, their, traditions, their kind of lifestyle, their food, obviously. And in Toronto, you definitely get, different flavors of different foods all over the city.
It's coming from the student who actually went there to study their cultural stuff, right?
I think the cultural stuff, it's an additional form of studying because these are the things that you don't get to study within, say, your classes. Your classes will take you to all the professional things that you learn from school. You get your grades, exams, certifications, whatever. But it is about going into the city, living the city, living the place where you spend your most time in. I think this is the kind of experience that you want when you are abroad, to be able to see different cultures and experience them, and what's better and more fun than eating and experiencing food to learn. It's a good way to go into a new culture by eating.
We have some guests previously that I asked them how they feel when they come to first Hong Kong, especially coming from Australia, from state. so they share their experience, but they came when they're grown up. They came here to work. What was your experience to first time move from your home city from Hong Kong to America? Which city was in America?
Minnesota. I was in Minnesota for a year and a half.
Yeah. So how was your experience as 16 years of kind of finding?
It was tough. Well, I was lucky because I have family, and I have an uncle,
They live there.
an aunt that lives, like their families live in Toronto and also in Minnesota. So I live with them, and at the same time, I was able to kind of get involved in all the school happenings, when I was,
Yeah.
in school, States and Canada. So it was a little bit easier, easing from family
Yeah.
speaking Chinese and also English because their children speak English. So it will be a little bit easier for us to be kind of slowly easing from like a Chinese speaking family, but still having a more American or Canadian lifestyle. And then you're slowly easing into, going to school where all your friends are not Chinese. I remember when I was in Minnesota, I was in a public school. I was
Yeah.
enrolled in a public school, and out of the entire public school, there were only like 5 Asian faces.
Really? How many students were there in school, like total?
I think out of 3 grades, so because it's high school, so 10th, 11th, 12th grades, I think it's like over 1,000 people. And because it was a public school and everybody was already pretty much all very American. But Asian faces, there were only like 5.
people.
And there was like one person that's Thai, one person that's Vietnamese, and then there
It's like
are
mixed max of all.
yeah, I was the only really odd person who is Chinese and can speak Chinese and like Mandarin and Cantonese. So for them, it was all, oh, you come from a place, that's very unfamiliar to us, and this became sort of like another learning opportunity, is that I get to meet someone who is from the Midwest. I get to understand what it is about the Midwest that's kind of beyond basketball and hockey,
Yeah.
which is what we watch, and I think it's a very different kind of, there's a little bit of culture shock that you're trying to remain kind of Chinese to the core.
Yeah.
But
Also
you
trying to
also
find-
need to take up this foreign culture as part of what you are and who you
Yeah.
are if you want to survive in this country. But having said that, moving from US to Canada was easy because they were in the same continent
Yeah.
and you pretty much watch the same
And
kind of
also,
TV
you
and,
already adapt like living outside of home city.
Yeah.
I wonder how our kids feel, like my kids, because they are Nepalese. I mean, by their ancestor with their parents' side, but they're born in Hong Kong
Yeah.
and they go to international school,
That will be difficult.
right?
But well, I think currently there might be a little bit of a mix. Like they don't know when they might be switching from being at home Nepalese to international, everyone else, and also local.
And the local, yeah,
A local community where it could be more than Nepalese, it could be Chinese, English, whatever.
yeah, which they speak Cantonese, so,
Yeah,
and
there you
Chinese,
go.
yeah.
So there will be a little bit of mixing, and sometimes I think it takes a little bit of adjustment for you to find one way to kind of put everything together. I mean, as an adult, it's a lot harder, but as an adult, there's also the convenience because you can adjust. But when you're a child, when you're going to school, you kind of want to condition yourself to adapt to it as quickly as possible.
And it's possible as well, I think, yeah. Rather than when you grow up and you have to suddenly go and learn some other people's culture, it'll be tough probably.
I think so.
I have never experienced. No, I experienced when I came to Hong Kong when I was 16, 17. For me was, again, when I came to Hong Kong, the only people I was hanging out with all Nepalese. The people where I was living with Nepalese. Our community where I go for, let's say, shopping is Nepalese. So it's like pretty strong. Our communities that I wanted to. So I went to learn Mandarin and Cantonese class. That was the first thing I joined. But it's very hard for me to just learn when I already grow up in school for like 1 hour and going back and speaking in our language, right?
It's never really easy for that. But people keep saying, if you want to learn English, watch Friends. It helps. It helps. But for me, it's not about watching just Friends, like TV. It's I did this thing where I quickly pick up American English within that a year and a half, like just a couple months, because I love watching TV with my family. So what we did is we had duct tape.
Yeah.
That the black stuff,
Yeah.
and then you kind of there's the TV, and then you tape
The subtitle?
You tape the subtitles.
Really?
But what you can, because in the States they don't really show the subtitles, but there's an option that you can, like one of those smart TV thing, you can like press some buttons and then they will show up with subtitles. But you tape the subtitles,
That's something
so
new.
you will be forced to understand it. So you try with something that's kind of a little bit easier. Go with it could be anything from children's TV, like I don't know, Dora the Explorer and Sesame Street. They will be kind of easy to understand.
Yeah.
TV series like Friends. It's a little bit more adult. So you will. These are the things that you will learn to speak about and learn to kind of style your speech. And then there's also the news. The news is the hardest because you come to experience and learn everything, all the names of the presidents and all the names of the places in Chinese. And then all of a sudden, all and everything got flipped, and then they were talking really quickly, and there are no subtitles, so you're basically forced to understand really quickly. And immediately through, watching a couple of months of this, you learn the language.
Yeah.
You just have to force yourself. And reading is the same thing. You just have to kind of stick with it, and
I think reading is that's like a extreme level. First, understanding and speaking is actually first thing I think is I wouldn't say easier. I would say is much feasible for people who just start. But writing is reading, and that is because it's not only about, because the sound is sound, right? If I say A, I know A, but if you write A, you have to memorize. It's not like you're not here. That's a memory. Is it memory?
But if you need to write for a living, or say if you need to communicate through writing, then you have to learn it. I think it has some sort of pressure that you give yourself, that if you have to do it, like if you have to do it for work or to earn money, or if you have to survive in that culture, you have to learn the language. And you learn the language, this will be like, to be able to survive in that community, it's a good motivation for you to learn quickly.
Right? So when thinking about writing, I wanted to ask you, so when you write, you decide what kind of people is going to read? Because I tell you, even English as well, right? There is so many types of English. Although you write English, like as you said, some English are easy to understand. I give you example. Band Michael Learns to Rock. That is so good. Like
Yes.
the words they use, easy to understand. If you go some other band, let's say so there's a way of writing. Okay, this one will be a general population who non-English speaker. Okay, this one is go to a general population. In Chinese, maybe a middle-aged people. Like maybe I don't know. Is that a thing in Chinese as well?
Yes.
Like there's a vast, strong with the words that like kind of writing of poetry.
Yes. In music, I don't know enough about music, say lyrics, but in terms of, say, music, there's a way that's conversational, more colloquial, that's usually not put in lyrics. And then there's something that is more of kind of everyday writing.
Yeah.
The writing kind. the same kind that you will see in newspapers and also in magazines. That is usually the kind of kind of words and phrases that you will use in, media and also in music lyrics. And then there's like the really old kind of Chinese, like, the Chinese opera things. Like that kind of interpretation and phrases are used in the older times. Like nobody is ever going to speak
That
with those phrases. Like nobody will be able to understand it. It's all.
even you can't understand.
Well, if you put that into words, I probably can guess based on the kind of words and where they are. Like it goes into this whole
Exactly.
syntax and everything. But if you go into trying to make a sentence out of it, it probably wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Like, and people would think, oh, this guy is like kind of all pretentious. Like, who's going to speak like that? I mean, I think the key to using sentences is to have people
Yeah, sorry
understand
to cut
it.
you
Right?
off. I make fun about the Nepalese people who don't understand those kind of Nepalese, because there is a dictionary in our country, right? So which is they have very specific word, very specific word. Like I can guarantee neither my parents understand. No, it's just like like those are. So I was wondering, when you say you're writing, when you write about the food, what is your targeted reader? Are they the one who understand the opera style, like back in old style, or they're the one who understand there's, I'm sure there's slang, right,
Yeah.
in writing as well.
Okay, let's go with English first. English is the main thing that I'm writing for. I think the average reader who will read, say, a normal English article on, say, if you go on Google search, say you search for something, and then say chicken. For instance, you use chicken as an example. You go on Google search and search chicken, and then you click on the first 10 articles. Those are the people that I write for.
Okay.
You want things that are simple enough.
Yeah.
But it depending on the context and also the kind of writing that you are doing. So even if you're writing about food, there's also writing about restaurants for the people who will go to these restaurants or people who want to go to these restaurants. The intended audience will always be reminded, to the reader that, this is a piece of writing about restaurants, about this restaurant. So we would imagine you will either be interested in going already, or hopefully, when you read the story, when you read the writing, you will want to go. If it makes you hungry, I've always said that. If a piece of writing, food writing, makes you hungry, or at least get you to search that subject,
restaurant, that something, yeah.
With more information about that, I have succeeded. And I would like to think that, I've done some part of doing that over the course of, however many years that I've been doing it. So those are, like, when you write about food, it usually have, a different tone. Say, it could be something of discovery. You discover a new thing. I just tried this new restaurant serving really innovative sushi, or, or not innovation at all. It could be something that's really traditional, that a lot of people haven't done it before, or a lot of people refuse to try this method because, it took 4 days to make. It could be like that. So there is a sense of discovery, and then there will be something that's a little bit more investigative.
Yeah.
So, like, we're all a little bit like Nancy Drew, there's this chicken. We have heard about this chicken for so long, but nobody has ever tried it. Hey, by the way, there is a place in Hong Kong that has that chicken. I'm going there now. And then we do all this interview, you research, and also you also eat the chicken, and then, you come up with a piece of writing, again, with, some form of discovery, some form of reasoning, and also, experiential. the experiential element where you tell people what you experienced, and hopefully that will inspire them to form their own opinion and also to find their own experience based on the writing.
Based on the writing and reading. That is for English.
That is English.
Is that exactly copy paste to the Chinese?
No. It would be easier. Trust me, it would be so much easier for me to just do a direct flip from English into Chinese, but it almost does not work like that. Translation, I'm not an expert in translation per se, but I would say I try my best to try to write 2 copies, which a lot of my friends who are in editorial would say, this is way too much work. And it is a lot of work, but if you translate things, it all goes back to television.
Yeah.
Is that if you have Friends, the TV program, you read the subtitles, everything is in English, it's very everyday, this is how people speak. And then if you flip it into Chinese, if you do it word for word,
It
it
make
wouldn't
sense.
have that essence. They wouldn't translate the humor. They wouldn't translate the culture. There will be phrases that are too technical and too old-style opera and colloquial in English that you cannot translate into the essence of whatever language that you try to write in. So I think the basic level of doing good translation, it's being able to flip from English into Chinese and then Chinese back into English. But as a more seasoned translating person, you should be able to translate more out of it. Say you will need to use a more fitting cultural space or fitting cultural phrases to describe what they want to say.
Okay.
And it's hard because that means you will also need to be very well versed with the culture that you're translating into, say Chinese.
Yeah.
There might be certain keywords or certain slangs that people use here that you can use this phrase to replace that. There are always going to be phrases like that makes it challenging. But for a reader, if they manage to read it, you say, hey, what's that phrase? I didn't know of it. But if you were in the know, if you know that culture well, and you know that phrase, you'll realize, oh my God, this person really did make an effort into doing the translation because this is not a usual phrase.
Yeah, it's just not like copy paste. You also add the phrases, you add the slangs, you add some of the words. Actually, now I understand. Sometimes I watch a movie with the different subtitle. It doesn't make sense, but it just because I was like, what is this? So they try to make that. Let's say maybe someone will give you example. Stephen Chow in Hong Kong, right? In a funny way, they'll give example or someone else in America, like kind of like giving,
Yeah.
oh, this is the funny guys.
Yes. That is the expert. Like, I would want to be like that. I would want to become like this, is to be able to say I watch an American television show, and then they say something, and then you'll be able to translate for the Chinese or the Hong Kong population. They were essentially all different, in terms of the mainland culture and the Hong Kong culture. They perceive things differently. So sometimes the ha-ha funny in American TV, it really is funny to us, but not so much to other people. And then there will be some other instances where the Chinese humor may not be translated in anything that are remotely funny to British, for instance. Like, it has nothing to do with the way it was perceived. It's just not funny to these people or other people, or or maybe it's inside jokes culturally.
Yeah.
I think there are very few instances where everyone finds the same thing funny. Except for maybe Mime or Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
That's
Which
like
is
universal,
international, yeah.
universal funny.
Universal.
But that has to be something that's kind of beyond verbal. That's more of an action or
More of
kind like
action,
a,
I would say. More of action, right?
gestures.
Yeah, gestures.
Clowns. Like there
Yeah.
are so many people who, they were afraid of clowns. They didn't find them particularly
Funny,
funny. And same, I think that's the same with food and drink as well. I may like a certain fruit on a pizza. There are people who will say absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, we're not here to talk about that, but this is just an example. There will be.
What is your preference? You like pineapple in the pizza?
I've had it with Lorenzo, Antonori. I've had it, but I find it like a lot of things, is that whenever there's like a radical choice of pizza topping or food combination, it has to be properly made. Like if you think it through on how you can play out the strength of that element, say let's go with pineapple. Pineapple is a fruit. It's a tropical fruit. It's very juicy. It makes very watery filling of anything. So if you put in a pie, it will have a lot of juice coming out. If you cook it with caramel, a lot of juices will come out. If you dry it, if you dehydrate it, it becomes kind of
Soggy. I think hard to chew.
Yeah, it becomes hard to chew. So in order for you to be able to put it on a pizza, you will have to learn the best way for the consumer to bite into the pizza and to be able to taste the pineapple texture and flavor. And the pineapple will also have to work with the toppings. I think essentially this is way too much work for a lot of kitchen team, because hey, if we want pineapple in the pizza, we'll just put the canned pineapple on it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make sense, because you have all this syrup, you have all this, it becomes soggy, and then it becomes kind of either too dry or it doesn't match with the sausage, and then there can be like a million things that go wrong.
If you wanted to find out the mistake, but what I wanted to ask you, since you're food expert that we know, I have a huge debate with my friend. Okay. So what do you think? What is the real pizza then? This is not the topic, but you know why? Because I personally love the duck pizza. Pizza and with the hoisin sauce and the slice of duck breast, and they said that's not a pizza. I was like, but actually, it's just same thing how cars or how bicycle evaluate by time, right? I don't know what is the real pizza, because I never been to Italy, but I don't know what is the real pizza. People say, oh, the New York pizza is the best pizza. Is it New York pizza? The pizza, there's like pineapple pizza is the best. There are some people like you saying pineapple pizza is the best pizza. Some people say LA has a different types of pizza, right? The thick pizza, I don't know. So what is the real pizza for me?
That is not a question. Like, that's not a question for like a 5-minute conversation. Because, I love pizza in a way that, it's, I wouldn't say there's like one kind of pizza, but I can tell you this for sure. Pizza must have a good
base.
The base is, I think a lot of the times people forget how important the base is. It's not, what I can tell you what it's not. It's not just a plate to put all the toppings on the top. For me, it's somewhat about math. Like math.
It's like ingredients.
It's like
proportions.
Numbers. You have to have the good ratio of crust to topping.
Yeah.
It has to be firm enough for you to hold that piece of pizza up, and then it will stay up. It cannot be kind of like this soft.
Really?
For me, it was the difficulty of eating it. That is the problem. Like when it flops, the toppings fall out, and then it becomes wasteful. For me, I'm really lazy in terms of that. I like to, like for the New York pizza, I would pick it up, do the fold in the center, and try to do that. I can't have a pizza a slice of pizza where things keep falling off. It has to be somewhat stuck on the cheese or at least on the bread. It also doesn't need to be too many things. I think sometimes if you put toppings that are too chunky, you don't get to try everything in every bite. So I love it when it's Italian sausage because they come in smaller crumbs so that you can scatter it across the top. Pepperoni, you can kind of spread it across the top, and cheese and sauce and
You're
all
making me
that.
hungry now.
Well, then I have done my job. It's. I think a good pizza should always have a crust, like a base that tastes like bread. It could be a very, very thin crust, almost like if you try to do a thin crust, it has to be crisp. Like you have to be able to hear yourself crunching into that. If you try to do, say, sourdough pizza, then the pizza has to have, a nice crust. The ring around the side, it has to be chewy, but cooked through. Like it doesn't taste raw. It has to be cooked through. If you have a good oven, you should be able to do some caramelization at the top, so a little bit toasty bits, a little bit charring. And for me, it's people who appreciate pizza will always appreciate the crust as much as the topping.
As much as the topping.
You cannot have a good pizza without eating the crust.
So now we come back to the questions. Like I don't know how much you can answer right, or like where is the best pizza in Hong Kong? Which restaurant that we can try the best pizza?
Can we have like 4 or 5? Like I think
let's say top 3, without putting them in 1, 2, 3, whatever. Like because I'm on a quiz stuff, trying the best pizza after you telling me all the stories about the crust.
Okay. Okay. Oh, it's going to be offending a lot of people.
No, if you can. I don't want you to put you in a situation that no bias to anyone. They're just
no. I have very defined places that I go to. Because I wrote, on Tatler, I did write where you can find a good pizza a year ago. But then there are more pizza places now. So I can't do 3, maybe 5.
Okay,
I will justify my answer for you.
5.
I will justify my answer for you. Why? The Pizza Project.
Okay.
From the Pirata.
From
people.
Pirata Group, yeah.
Their crust is thin. They try to do a thin crust pizza, and it worked because they know how to do it in the kind of oven that kind of facilitates the cooking. So whenever they come, it's usually really crisp, and the topping, it doesn't fall off. Like it's
so you can just hold it and you can just bite it.
You can do for the camera. You don't have to fold because the ring, the side is crispy. So you cannot really fold it, but you will be able to kind of pick it up like a piece of paper. Pick it up, and all the topping will still be on the top, kind of piling up, but it doesn't fall off. It does. The base is crisp and kind of like a cracker, enough for you to hold the topping without it falling off, and then you eat like this. And the great thing about a thin crust pizza like that is that the filling, and also the crust is tasty, but the filling can also be evenly spread throughout. So that by the time you finish eating the center and then you work all the way to the rim, the filling will still be flavoring the rim as well. So it's all about the proportion.
Oh my god! I was just thinking. I said, oh my god, because I've been eating pizza and pizza project a lot of time, but never experienced the way you explained to me. Like I'm gonna do that next time. I'm just gonna go. I was like,
we need to do it with the thing with pizza again. It has to be like I feel really bored. I mean, it's something that you can eat the whole pizza on your own, but pizza should always be something that you share with, say, at least one more person. So you can get two different
pieces.
ones, and then you can share, right? So that's number one. I like Gustaci Pizza Lounge at PMQ.
Yep. Yep.
So,
I
Angelo.
just ate like a 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so Angelo, like they have these kind of, they're very loungy, like with the music and everything. But the pizza is good. You know, the dough is slowly fermented, so it's like something that's a little bit chewier. Like it has that little more doughy and more kind of slow fermentation, very a little bit sour and a little bit chewier. You know, that kind of dough I like, but they are not. They're the floppy kind.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that floppy kind is that the topping, when you apply the topping on it, the toppings are not super juicy. So even if it flops, it will stay on. Like if it's juicy and
It's
it
the
has a
stick
lot
with
of
the-
water,
with the cheese
it
probably,
starts
yeah.
slipping, right? They don't do that. So, and they don't try to ram everything on the top. Like it doesn't make it look like, you know, it's everywhere. So that's that. So Gustachi is a good place, but then their pizza tends to be quite big, so you kind of have to share. However, Gustachi does make a good calzone, and it's basically, you know, like a giant pizza pocket
Yeah.
with lots of cheese in it. That you can have it on your own, but a pizza, I think you'll have to share. What else? Oh, that's tricky. I like Little Napoli in Happy Valley. So
I
it's
haven't
a
eaten there. Yeah, I haven't
newer
eaten there.
place, but I've only had it once. But it was good because I bought it, and then because it's a takeout restaurant, like it doesn't have seating, so I picked up the pizza and then I just move on to the park bench, and then me and my friend starts eating. Their pizza is good. You know, the crust is a little bit thicker, but I like that they are a little bit more less conventional in terms of pizzas. Like their pizza, they have one with the rosemary and also potatoes on it. And
Potatoes on it.
yes,
Oh, I have never tried a pizza with
it's
potatoes.
lighter.
Actually.
It's lighter, but it's not so tomato. But it's I also like
You see
the white
potatoes,
pizza.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are not French fries potato, but more like a little like roasted potatoes. And then because there's also rosemary on it and there's some cheese, it's a little bit lighter. It almost tastes like a little bit of like a fondue. You have a cheese, and then there's also crispy bread, and then you know the bread is a little bit chewy, and it comes out piping hot. And because you're eating it, this is the one thing I don't like about pizza packaging is that they come in a box made of cardboard, and because it has thickness, it traps all the moisture. So if you close the box and go home with the box, by the time you reopen, everything will no longer be crispy. So that's why I like to eat in. But Little Napoli, I think it's one of the good newer pizza places to have. So let's 3.
Which we're gonna try next time.
Yes, I'm sure there are more. Oh yes, speaking of pineapple pizzas, there's this one place with pineapple pizzas that I really don't mind eating more. It's this place in Causeway Bay. It's called Mother of Pizzas. It's on Leighton Road.
Mother's Pizza.
Mother
Yeah,
of
yeah, I eat it there.
It's right across from that giant tree in Causeway Bay on Leighton Road. So they have all these kind of local guys making pizza, and they were all really busy making dough. You know, they were.
They're pretty busy.
They're
pretty busy.
really
Yeah.
busy all the time, and they display all the pizzas at the front. And then that was the first time I ever saw pineapple pizza with so much pineapple on it.
But you like it.
I was eating it. No, I was looking at it. I was like, oh, there's so much pineapple on it. It's basically just a slice of pizza with like they cut the pineapple into strips. So it's obviously they put some thought into it, and they realize if you put chunks, it won't work because either it will fall off because it's too heavy, or it will be just too juicy. So if you cut them into kind of little strips, like half the pinky finger thickness, and then you scatter it across the top, and then you go into the oven. The heat will quickly caramelize the top, so you get a little bit of charred bits on the pineapple. And then when it comes out, you will still be able to get the kind of this really sweet, like barbecue pineapple kind of flavor, which is sweet and a little bit of toasty. But you can also get the pizza underneath. And the cheese will stick the pineapple on the pizza, so it's nothing is going to fall off. And for me, that's good.
Yeah, I've been there. See, one of our friend, Cherry, if you're listening to this, she and her husband actually own that place.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
And it was good experience. I've been there once. So that's number 4. Now we have one more to go.
Where would I go for pizza these days? I do like Emmer quite a bit.
Well, that's number. We do Pizza
Before.
Project, Gustacci, Little
Napoli.
Pizza Napoli,
I think Mother
Mother's
of
Pizza, Mother
of Pizza. I think Emmer. There's something about Emmer in Admiralty. Because I want to say this about Emmer because they make their own flour.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah. They Emmer. The name Emmer is also a grain, the ancient grain. Something. They use this like really old type of grain, and then they mill their own flour to make the dough. So that's quite something. And then there's this idea of making the pizza especially for Hong Kong. Emmer is something that opens specifically for Hong Kong, and they take a lot of consideration into how you serve the pizza, and also the whole procedure. They are all well calculated. You see, a lot of the pizza places like pizzerias, they will serve you the pizza on a wooden board. And that's not good. That's
Really?
usually not very good. It's something to do with a pizza being so hot from the oven, and then they directly migrate that into a wooden board, which is not hot. And because the wooden board will absorb the moisture
Yeah.
from the pizza, so the base will not be crispy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, unless you eat it right away, right? But nowadays, everybody wants to take photos and they want to kind of rearrange it, and then you get the soggy pizza base. So wooden board is not really good. If you use a plate, even if you warm the plate, it will still be a different temperature as the pizza, and then again, it will soften the crust. But the one at Emmer, they use a very thin aluminum plate, which can also be warmed up quite a bit. So whenever you put a hot pizza onto a metal plate, and then you serve it like with a stand, kind of like, that's kind of this 3-tier afternoon tea
Yeah.
stands. But it's sort of like that, but it's sort of like little elevated tin, so that the metal plate rests on the rack. It doesn't touch the table. The table is cold. If you put the metal plate onto the table, it immediately gets cold, and the pizza will get
So that's what they do in Emmer?
They do at Emmer. I think there are a couple of places that also does that, but metal plate and metal rack elevated, not touching the table. I think Emmer is one of the more pioneers for that, and it's great because it feels like it will sound like they were trying to save space because tables are small.
Yeah.
But if you come to think of it, it makes sense. Not everybody can just wolf down pizza slices right away. They would
I
want.
can.
I mean, if I'm hungry, I
everybody.
probably can too. But it's like if you want to take your time, being able to eat your second or third slice of pizza when it's still warm, it's important because you want the temperature to continue to be somewhat warm in order for the cheese not to kind of get all set and congealed. You want the crust to remain crispy. I think it's important. And I think Emmer is doing a good job on that. And I think they are also one of the few local pizzeria to have the Georgian khachapuri, I think it's called. A khachapuri.
What's that?
It's from Georgia, the country. So it's sort of like a pizza. It's like a pizza that looks like an eye. It's like this olive shape. Like think of it like a boat. Like a boat-shaped pizza with more dough on each side. Like it really does look like an eye shape. They usually have different kind of filling in the middle, and then they have an egg in the middle. So it really does look like an eye, a giant eye. But this Georgian pizza, I don't think a lot of Hong Kong pizzeria has that, but Emmer has that one. The menu, and I've had it. It's good.
It's good. So, but it's just a name and shape is different, but technically it's a cheese, tomatoes, and all the
I
toppings.
didn't think there were tomatoes in it, but the one I tried had spinach and some herbs on it, and also egg. So it's a little bit like a eggs Florentine, but it tastes good, and think of it like a different kind of pizza. Yeah.
It's
more flat, right?
We have done we invited, but this is the first time actually we're talking about food. But and it's extremely hungry. I wanted to ask you what is the trend, and I wanted to talk about your project about the
project,
the jam that you make.
Cool.
I've tried mango. I want to try the lemon one that you just.
Nice.
It's a local lemon, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Local lemon grow in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Really?
New territories.
No way. You long come in?
I've been fortunate to as part of my job. You meet with so many people, like chefs, farmers, different people that do different crazy things. And like for me, a crazy thing would be to have fruit grown in Hong Kong. As it turned out, there are so many different farms in new territories.
They are.
And it's not just that they grow lemons. Like for the longest time, we thought, oh, these are local lemons. They don't look quite like the supermarket lemons that you normally have. They look like this giant things that smell like citrus, but they're not quite pomelos.
And those are lemon.
They're lemons. They are really big, and some species of local lemons, they are actually a thicker peel, sort of like what the Italians would call the cedro, which is cedrat, which is a different family of citrus. They are greener. The color part, like the green and yellow part on the outside, is pretty much the same, but the white part inside the lemon tends to be really thick, and the flesh inside is really small. So it's not really good for juicing, but in terms of making jams, like preserving, adding sugar to cook the peel that turns from white to transparent, and then all the sugar will go into the peel, and then you get this really candy texture. That is actually great. It's great fruit for that.
Yeah, I haven't tried yet. We're gonna try. I tried the mango one before they gave it to me. So, how do you start it? That's
That's a long time. I started it when I was still in Canada, so it was a long time.
Also, you've been making jams for a long time. Then is it?
Okay, here's the thing. I started to think about it. When I was in Canada.
Yeah.
It all started with university. So, when you were having your finals, everyone study really crazy. They go all night, all that. And you don't really go out when you have exams. You can stay in, you buy all your food. It's sort of like now, you buy all your food and you're stuck at home. But you study, and the great thing about this jam in North America, the jam culture has been so strong, is that people will buy quite a number of it, and then when you want to eat it, you kind of take them out from, pantry. And for us, we had that pantry space, and I have this jar of jam that was given to me by a friend whose mother made it. Like, the mother has been making it for like 30 years.
What kind of jam was it? The flavor?
It was peach.
Oh, okay.
So because we were in Toronto, and then the province of Ontario, they produce good apples. they also have good peaches in the summer. So they made peach jam and gave it to me as a present. And I thought, ooh, peach jam. It's probably not very good. I'm not really particularly fans of peaches, but they look kind of nice. It's orange color. So I kind of put it away. And then during my finals, I looked at the jam. I looked at my pantry to see what's there to eat. And there it was, this jar of orange thing. And it says peach on it. So I decided, hey, let's just grab some toast, and then made some toast. And I vividly remember this one moment where I hold the jar, which is about the size of this, by the way. So I hold the jar, and then I looked at the color, which is kind of still this more of a rusty orange color, which is very different. You know, a lot of jams that we normally get is like blueberries or mixed berry, which is very dark. But this peach is sort of like this attractive orangey color. And then you open it, you hear the crack of the jar because they seal them. So it has a sound when the lid opens, and then you open it, and then you immediately smell peach.
Wow.
It was like cutting into fruit, basically. Or you get the same kind of sensation when you say open a soda,
Yeah.
you know, or open a bottle of wine.
Wine.
You immediately get that flavor of that fruit or that wine coming out right away. And that was the moment when I was thinking, hey, this really smells nice. And it was just peach and lemon and sugar and nothing else. No vanilla, no anything. And then of course, I used a knife, which is a big mistake, because it was not like a jelly.
Okay.
It was more kind of thicker.
Gravy, kind of.
Think of a thicker gravy type jam. And I use a spoon. When you use a spoon, the experience was very different. When you scoop with the spoon, it really feels like you are scooping into a really ripe peach. That consistency is very hard to make. So I scoop and then spread it on toast and then eat it. And it really does taste like summer. That was,
That was the experience.
that was
then.
the moment where I thought, wow, in the middle of this Canadian winter, which I'm sure a lot of people can understand, it's basically 6 months of winter. And it's
Like
cold.
minus, I don't know, minus 20,
Yeah,
minus.
it's like around like 0 to 2 degrees.
Oh, okay.
Normal. And then you have like minus 30 as well. So in the dead of winter, really gray, everywhere it's like windy and snowy and cold, bleak winter. You get this really orangey, really sunny, which tastes like summer. And then you eat it, and then you taste the sweetness, you taste, you even have the little small chunks of peaches. It's a different kind of experience. It takes you back to summer.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, maybe it wouldn't be too difficult to make that. And then I realized how difficult it was. I've failed so many times. I've burned so many different batches of jam, strawberries, raspberries, peaches. I've done so many different failed experiments. But then, I forgot about it for a while and then moved back to Hong Kong, after a few years. And then I got into food writing.
Yeah.
I got into writing, and then I have the opportunities to work with chefs and work with people who make jams and cocktails like yourself. And the thing is, I begin to have this jam thing again when, all of a sudden people ask me, what kind of breakfast would you eat?
Yeah.
And at that time, it was oatmeal. It really wasn't my favorite
I hate
thing.
oatmeal.
It's not my
I
favorite
don't know
thing.
how people can eat that in the morning.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing. But and then some people mention, hey, you can, if you have some good jam, you can just scoop some jam into your oatmeal, a little tiny spoonful of jam. It will make oatmeal better. And then I thought about it, hey, maybe it would be good to try making jam again. And then I started. And then you start with strawberry, raspberry, mixed berry, and then move slowly towards doing more, peaches, apricots, oranges, citrus, and And then as I become slightly better at it, I try to, order more unusual fruits that I will only normally see it on, say, TV programs or cookbooks.
Or maybe seasonal ingredient. What do you think? I think
It
I
has
don't know
to
how
be.
much I understand about the jam, shrubs. Those are let's say fermentation. Those are actually the things were born back in the days. We didn't have freezers, so people want to keep and preserve those for to, let's say, the berries. Maybe they exist in the winter, but they want to try on the summer, right? Like they just want to keep it. That's the idea. I think you got it. So the one experience in Canada, which was, I don't know how many years ago, and and then you suddenly
Long.
got that in your experience, and then you start making it, right? You start making it. I tried mango. It's pretty good. It's amazing. Actually, my kids also tried it.
Oh, great.
And now, what is your the plan for the jam? How do you want to do? You want to make it only for your friends and family like us, special people, or you want to do it as more on a branding, or you want to sell it on a I don't know. What's your plan for your beauty? What's the name of you, if you want to call it? Because we're just calling it jam until now. There's no okay, mango jam, lemon jam. Do you have a name for this?
Okay, here's the thing. When I left my job,
Yeah.
about a little over a year ago, everyone at the old company already knows that this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because they all know that if I had a full-time job, as in, like, if I do this full-time, I wouldn't be able to do this jam on the side.
Yeah.
It takes up to way too much work. To make a batch of jam, it usually takes a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And usually that makes a couple of jars.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. So it could be anything between 2 hours for mixed berry jam to 6 to 8 hours for citrus.
Yeah.
Because, all the prep work and everything. So the thing is, I've always known that this is something I want to pursue. And in order to do that, I think selling, to the public, eventually, this is the plan. I will need to do a little bit of branding. I have some idea what I want to name it.
Okay.
But it will also have to be, I have to decide whether or not it's going to be only an English name or only a Chinese or both.
But why not both? Maybe since you know how to write, so
But I'm telling you, for both, you have to find a really catchy name, the simple but catchy name
for sure.
both languages, and that is hard. I've been trying to look it up on the
No,
dictionary.
for sure. I mean, I definitely can't come out with that thing.
But, I can just call it fruity, but that wouldn't have quite as much of a message that I want to give.
Yeah.
I've written down some names, but
I don't have to explain to us.
but eventually I think.
So you have a plan eventually to bring it out to the market and let the people
Slowly.
try. Yeah.
But I've already started doing something with it. So I've done some collaborations the past year in 2021. I've done thanks to Gerald from Elephant Grounds and their pastry chef Ian. They have been really keen on getting me on board to do a collaboration with them. So last year I did an ice cream sandwich, which the coffee shop Elephant Grounds, they did.
In Shanghai?
It's all over Hong Kong.
Oh, really?
Actually. So they wanted me to make a jam to do with their chai tea ice cream for an ice cream sandwich. So I made a pear jam, because it's winter. So I made pears. I did pears with lemon and also Ceylon cinnamon. Because the Sri Lankan cinnamon is a different kind as the Vietnamese one that you normally get.
Yeah, I think Sri Lankan one is more cinnamon because if you go to Vietnamese, there are more Chinese one. What they call
more,
cassia bar.
Cassia, yeah. So cassia is the one you use in five spice, and you add that into flavors like five spice and pho and everything, like more broth flavoring. But the Ceylon cinnamon is also a stronger cinnamon flavor, even though it's not as sweet.
Yeah.
So that goes really well into the pear jam. And then the pear jam was paired with a chai tea ice cream and also 2 cookies. And that becomes sort of like an unexpected bestseller.
Do they still have it?
No, they,
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. With Elephant Grounds, they change every month.
Yeah.
So for that month, I made a couple of batches of jams for them. And, they sell. And I was really surprised because nobody really liked pears. Like nobody I know liked pears quite as much. We normally have pears with blue cheese, and then you normally have pears on its own, or sometimes, you just have pears in picnics. That's it. And then I also, took a break, and then we went to this restaurant called Beidou. And Shangwan, and their chef Corey Riches have been really enthusiastic. He was like, "Hey, I heard you made this jam for the ice cream sandwich. Like, do you want to do something for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, but you're like a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern restaurant. What do you want me to make?" I want to make apricots, but nobody likes apricots.
People love apricot, but when I think about jam, let me tell you honestly, when I think about jam, the first thing I memorize apricot. I don't know.
The problem with apricot jam locally is that we grew up eating the not very good kind. So if you introduce really good apricots into making good apricot jam, the conventional standard of quality apricot jam is not the kind that we eat growing up. The kind we eat growing up is more jelly and it's kind of firm. The good kind of apricot, because apricots don't have a lot of pectin, so it doesn't set quite firm.
Oh, maybe
so it's more scoopable.
Maybe scoopable.
Right? So it will be fantastic on ice cream, I have to say, and it's also very good on pastry. So what I did with Corey at Beidou is that he did a millefeuille with fennel and vanilla cream filling, and I made a spiced blueberry jam to go with the millefeuille. So because he has fennel and vanilla and butter for the millefeuille, I do a contrasting kind of purplish blueberry jam with spice. So it was black pepper, lemon, and sumac.
Sumac is a very Turkish, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, is it? Yeah.
But sumac is also a berry. They are not a spice. They're not a seed. They're a berry that's dried up and then all ground
they make it
up.
powder, yeah.
So when you taste sumac on its own, it's this really pungently sour flavor. It almost like eating, I don't know,
it's like
biting
woody.
into a lemon. Like biting into a lemon, but also a little bit woody. But if you put that into a jam, it adds that tartness, like that sour flavor. It enhances it, but it doesn't make it like lemon. It sort of gives you that more depth into, you taste that blueberry jam. It really does taste very berry-like. But then there's also something underneath, and that's sumac.
Oh. So they have that?
They had that for, I think, 2 months. And then a new season come along, and then they change it to other things. So I've done that for 2 months, and I think for 2022, it's not confirmed yet, but I'm really testing out a batch of maybe 1 or 2 kinds of jam that I want to do at a local shop.
Yeah.
I can't tell you which one yet, but this local shop has been really kind to be saying that, we have this product that we're selling and we want to have your jam to go with it. So I'm doing that.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm doing testing batches and I'm doing a lot of different experimentation.
Sure.
And people like you and a lot of other friends, they will test it out for me. Like I will offer them, usually what happened for the past, and just like for the past couple of years, it has always been about my restaurant experience or my bar experience. Say I tasted, it was like a gimlet. I had a gimlet and it was, this lime flavor was so good. And then it was also, say I had a passion fruit and mango margarita. I forgot where it was, but it sounded great, And then I asked the bartender what goes into it, and they told me, they broke it down for me, and then I said, hey, how about I make this a jam version of it? And then you use the same ingredients,
just
different
change the
proportion,
jam,
you change it into a jam form. You kind of, alter the recipe a little bit, the proportion a little bit. And then it becomes passion fruit and mango margarita jam.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, if you have anything that you want us to try and make a cocktail, we are more than willing to do it. That is definitely
That would be good.
that will definitely gonna happen. And I want to ask you a very very serious question. Not a serious question. Is what do you think the trend in especially, I would say, if Hong Kong is a place that actually the trend comes second fast, same as like iPhone, right? Let's say iPhone comes to stage first. Let's say iPhone 13 is coming, probably there, and in Singapore, Hong Kong, right? We are kind of the top 5 city in the world that get everything before anyone else can get. The food trend as, because I see back in the days, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago, even in the drinks, people wanted to see they wanted to see dry ice, they wanted to see I don't know, like they want to do like a al buli kind of, al buli kind of style food. But now, when I see more food, more restaurant, I don't know, maybe bar also. I don't want to talk about bars and drinks. I always want to stay away from the podcast, in this podcast. So when people come to now, people start to realizing like they wanted to go more, like more simple, more authentic. That's the word I guess I was looking for. Authentic. That means they wanted to try something that actually 3 ingredients, nothing else, right? More classic way, I would say. So, do you think that's going to be a trend? Just my curiosity about the food trend.
A food trend. I don't think it's only a restaurant experience kind of trend. It has something to do with the food, obviously, the service, obviously, but also the experience, the dining experience. Like the dining experience on the whole, people have wanted to re-experience what it is to eat out, to eat in restaurants. We've been stuck at home for so long.
Yeah.
When things open up again. The
Yeah.
restaurant experience does not always include tablecloth and really fine dining service. It doesn't always mean that. It also means that you can be a casual bistro style restaurant. There are quite a lot of restaurants, like even newer restaurants, newcomers, independent restaurants. They have managed to pull off that kind of dining. It doesn't really have to be all strict. Kind of, you have to sit up and kind of mumble. You can't really talk loud.
And that's not my kind of style.
I don't mind it, but at the same time, dining out, it's such a big part of Hong Kong.
That's true. That's true. For locals, definitely, that's the thing. They don't. I would say, I don't know. I would, if my experience, local people usually don't cook at home. It's very rare.
Yeah. Even if you cook, occasionally you'll want to come out and eat. And I think the experience, to be reassured that you are having all your customers' experience at heart, like you want to take care of them. They want to be taken care of. Everything from more attentive services and also a menu that occasionally changes but not changing all the time. But you re-examine the menu to kind of take out all the things that are not really that popular or things that are more seasonal. If there is one thing that we are seeing a lot, is that this seasonality becomes less of a catchphrase but more of something that you can practice. you can be practical on. The local doesn't only mean that you are eating things from within Hong Kong, but you can also use things that are in China and also in Taiwan and also close, say, it doesn't always have to specially fly in from Europe or fly in from South America or Australia. I think it has something to do with being conscious of the origin and why you're using that product. It is every bit about eating local, sustainability, and also why you decided to put that on the plate. In terms of dishes and food, like you said, like cocktails, people are looking for plates that are maybe 4 or 5 ingredients max. Like you can do different things with carrots and it will still be good. Like unless you don't like carrots, then that's something else. But I was doing a story with Ash Salmon from Roganic, and in the interview we talked about how he is really excited about this new carrot dish where he uses carrots in different forms and in different execution. And there's this thing about carrots is that my sister doesn't eat carrots, but when she hears about this carrot dish, she may want to try. I think that's important, and it's now the carrot dish is now on the new menu. I can't wait to try them because it sounded so good. If it makes you hungry, it's probably a good dish. If it kind of fits into the kind of dining experience that you're looking for, and and more importantly, if it restores your faith into believing that restaurants today that survive after COVID can, have a place to stay open, you should go. I think it's all about giving back to the industry.
So let me break it down for you. Thank you, and thank you for that. Actually, giving back to industry is a very good thing. But getting back to there'll be people looking for experience because they've been stuck in quite a while, and second, they're looking for, as you mentioned, it'll be a trend of sustainability, which has been always there. Which is a good thing. Look, we need to definitely think about it and do something that we can do from our side, not being pretentious or just to be in social media, but in really doing it and change something. And third is, what do you mention? Is the simple dishes, simple ingredients. 3 things we can take it. But I was gonna say, if the things get normal, do you really think the Hong Kong people are gonna stay in Hong Kong, at least for because they're gonna be traveling. They're gonna be traveling.
I'm going to make this really official here. You can quote me on that one. The minute things open up, normal, the first thing I'm going to do is to book tables to eat out.
Okay.
I am very sure that every one of my friends
really?
who want to fly
That's
out.
That's good news for us.
Everyone who wants to fly out will fly out. And that's the best time to eat at restaurants.
So we have a less waiting list.
We will no longer need to wait for 4 months to eat at, popular restaurants. I'm sure for every restaurant goer in Hong Kong, we all have this small little Excel file, like a spreadsheet of all the restaurants that we've been marking down that we want to go when things go back to normal. And I have that spreadsheet, and my spreadsheet has pages because I'm a very light drinker, that I hardly ever drink like a few cocktails. So, but there are still, places that I want to go to or places that I know will be opening later in the year, and I want to mark it down, like maybe potentially write about them or maybe, schedule myself into going.
So you are ready to go out. I have waited one restaurant, the one I mentioned is a Japanese restaurant, for 3 months to eat. I booked out the table.
Okay.
But this happened, right? So they still offer, hey, do you want to come at the afternoon and then eat and drink? I was like, I'm good, man. But I still moved that to April. Hopefully, by the time things get normal, I probably able to eat there because I have waited. I have never waited to eat to any places until now? Like, because usually when you say, oh, but we don't have a table, I say, okay, it's fine. I'm okay. But when I was like, okay, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait 2 or 3 months. I'm still going to eat. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
So I have a group of friends, and we all used to do either media or marketing, or we all used to be in media and marketing. So there is a giant group of 20 to 30 people in that one WhatsApp group, where what we normally did a couple of years ago when we set up the group was to exchange details. So if, say, I write about a new restaurant or I heard about a new restaurant, then we'll share the information.
I need to be in that group now.
So different complication. I'm sure your bartenders have a certain group too. So all the journalists will share information and, say if I write about a new restaurant and they didn't say the restaurant hasn't had any Chinese press and I'm happy to share with them, then I'll share the information. Hey, this is a new restaurant. Maybe you guys want to do something with them. And they will do the same with Chinese coverage. So we kind of exchange contacts and we exchange kind of stories. We help each other out. And this 30 people group, like some people already move, Taiwan, UK, US, but we eventually still have a strong group of people who are constantly messaging each other. So through COVID, our support system has been, hey, where did you get your new mask? Or where did you get your new test kits?
Yeah.
It has become more or less like that. But then this group of people, we have this very core team of 8 people. And that 8 people, including me, we always used to go out and eat together. So for Chinese, it will be a giant table of 8. For when the dining restrictions was happening, it was 2 tables of 4 and 4 tables of 2s. We have made it all the way through.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We have always gone to restaurants together. And then the 5th wave come, and then it becomes too much trouble, and then we stop going all together.
I hope the 5th wave will over soon, which I don't know when we're going to launch this podcast.
I think they are going to do something if everything goes right. It will be. They will slowly ease back into opening up
10 p.m. on restaurant
until 10 p.m. 4 per table on April 21st, tentatively. So it was.
Yeah.
Here.
You wanted to go out and party?
Yeah, but when the press conference came out yesterday, we were already getting the 8 people group already started with the messages again. Can we? So where are we gonna go when things are easier? And I thought, I think it's a month away. And then I realized people are already starting to book restaurants, and people are getting, I've already been hearing from, chefs and whatever, restaurant people, they were already saying that, ever since the press conference finishes, the announcements came out, and then the phone starts ringing. And then the email starts coming in and say that, I want to book on April 21st. I was like, wow.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. So I can pretty much say sushi places will continue to be full.
They're small.
I'm
the
telling
spaces
you,
is small.
Sushi places have been, this one thing that upsets me the most is because, when you look onto social media, you look at, hey, this is that's sardine season now in Japan, and then you were like, I want this so bad, and then I tried to order it, and then they said, you have to wait for 3 months, and your 3-month wait will be there will be a table for you on Tuesday at 3 p.m. It will be
and by the time maybe the sardines will not there in the menu.
They will. They also will add. They will book you in, but mind you, by the time you come, there will no longer be any sardines. And then you thought, hey, do I really want that? You want to wait 3 months and then realize that it's not going to be there. So
This hype, this
that
hype.
is always a disappointment. But then, coming to think of it, when everybody is flying off to Japan, I can take a break.
Probably, yeah. Man, thank you for coming and sharing with us. It was actually very, very good conversation that we have. But before you leave, I want to tell me the food that you like. If you have the last food, since you're foodie, what is
The food that I really liked.
the food that you, let's say tomorrow today is your last day.
The last meal.
Last meal.
How many courses can I have?
Well,
Like, is
no,
it
no, just make it two.
two things.
Make it two things.
Oh God, that's gonna be tough. Do I have to cook it?
No. So, maybe the
someone-
best chef in the world will cook it for you.
Okay. My mom. This is a really weird thing. Is that there's a small story here. My mom used to make chicken wings
Yeah.
when I was growing up, and she would cook that with lemons. So it was like soy sauce, and then they would marinate soy sauce, wine, and everything, and then they will cook it with fresh lemons in it. She'll cut slices of lemon and just cook it in the sauce, and then just let it simmer. So the whole chicken wing situation will have sauce, like a gravy sauce. It will be sweet and also salty and sour because of the lemons. So I would like to eat that. That would be the dish. However, ever since I start making jams, my mom has adopted my jam thing into her chicken wings. By making the same chicken wings, but instead of sugar, she would add some of the lemon
jam.
marmalade into the sauce to make it sweeter and more gravy-like. So I will eat that.
Can't wait to try.
Like
I don't
with
know
my
what to
lemon
try,
jam
but
in it.
definitely that
And-
sounds amazing.
And good steamed rice.
Good
I think,
steamed rice.
I think between congee and steamed rice, I think steamed rice will forever be that one thing that I
We love our
can
rice.
never say no. I
love-
can give up bread, I think, but rice really
we
cannot.
Asian love our rice, man. We Asian love our
Oh yeah, it has to be a perfect bowl. Well, if it's my last meal, I wouldn't mind having 5. Yeah, but it has to be good steamed rice.
Man,
Normal
thank you.
rice.
Great, man. Thank you. Thank you for
having
being
me.
with us. I really, really enjoyed, and
Thank
you
you.
actually give us some good tips. That what should we do when we things get normal. But I don't know when we're gonna go live with this podcast. Hopefully soon. But yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You want to follow my Instagram? That would be
Yes.
great as well. It's
What's your Instagram, maybe?
It's Happy Quince, Happy, and Quince is Quince. So quince is actually also a fruit in Europe. It's really hard. It's very difficult to eat it raw because it's also very sour. So that is the favorite fruit of mine to cook because the quince, it's something that's kind of unseemly and kind of ugly on the outside, but once you cook it, it turns into this pinkish, orangey brown color, and it kind of smells really floral and it's really sweet. So I'm hoping that this is something of a transformation that everybody will get when they try to love food and they appreciate
Yeah.
food and then they get happy
Perfect.
this time.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you,
Great.
Gagan. Thank you.